The banging on my garage door was so violent it sounded like someone was trying to smash it open with a battering ram. I set my coffee aside and headed toward the commotion, already certain who would be on the other side. Through the small window, I spotted Patricia Dalton, the ever-dramatic HOA president, face flushed, shouting about a stolen car. Her son, Tyler, hovered behind her with his arms folded, wearing that arrogant smirk I'd grown to loathe over the last 3 weeks. "Open this door right now," Patricia shrieked through the metal. "I know you're hiding stolen property in there. The police are already on their way." I couldn't stop myself from grinning at that part. If only she had a clue. I picked up my badge from the counter, clipped it to my waistband, and chose to open the front door instead of the garage. The expression she made when she saw me standing calmly in the doorway almost made all her nonsense worth tolerating. But let me back up and explain how all this started. 3 weeks earlier, I'd moved into Riverside Heights after earning a promotion to chief of police for the city. After 2 decades of renting apartments, I finally purchased my first home. Nothing extravagant, just a simple 3-bedroom house with a 2-car garage. Ideal for housing my greatest treasure, a 1969 Ford Mustang Boss 429 in grabber blue. I spent 5 years restoring that beauty alongside my late father. Every screw, every line, every inch was deliberate. It wasn't merely a vehicle, it was the final project my father and I completed before cancer took him. Since moving in, I'd driven it exactly 3 times. Each drive drew admiring looks from most neighbors. Most, but absolutely not all. Down the street lived Patricia and her 17-year-old son, Tyler. From the moment I arrived, she made it known she ruled this neighborhood like royalty. Our first encounter consisted of her handing me a 3-inch binder labeled HOA, Guidelines and Expectations, while informing me my moving truck had exceeded the approved parking time by 2 hours. "We run a very strict community here in Riverside Heights," she declared, her over-bleached hair perfectly arranged despite the sweltering 90-degree weather. "I expect you'll be a cooperative addition to our neighborhood." I gave her a polite smile, accepted the binder, and intentionally said nothing about my career. I preferred my job to remain separate from my home life, and I didn't need anyone treating me differently because of my title. Things went downhill the following week. I was in the garage polishing the Mustang's chrome trim when Tyler wandered over. The kid strutted right up the driveway as if the property belonged to him. Expensive sneakers squeaking against the concrete. "Nice car," he said, sliding his hand across the fender without permission. 429 Cobra Jet V8, I replied, gently moving his hand away. "Just buffed that spot." His eyes lit with that entitled spark I'd seen countless times, the kind that meant I want this. And people usually give me what I want. "You should let me take it for a drive," Tyler said. "I'm a great driver. Got my license last month." I nearly laughed out loud. A 17-year-old with barely a month behind the wheel driving a 400 horsepower muscle car. "Not happening. Sorry, kid. This car doesn't leave the garage unless I'm the one driving it." His expression soured. "My dad pays a lot in HOA fees." "Like, a lot?" "That basically means he owns part of the street. So technically, I kind of own everything on it too." The logic was so bizarre, had to pause just to interpret it. "That's not even remotely how property works," I said. "We'll see about that," Tyler muttered before storming off. 20 minutes later, Patricia was pounding on my door. She had changed into what I could only describe as her full battle uniform. Crisp white slacks, a matching blazer pinned with her HOA emblem, and heels that stabbed the porch with every step. "Mr. Morrison," she said sharply, skipping any attempt at courtesy. "My son tells me you were extremely rude to him." "I told him he wasn't allowed to drive my car, if that's what you're referring to." Her mouth tightened into a razor-thin line. "Tyler is a very responsible young man. When he expresses enthusiasm about something, it's only neighborly to support him. This is a community, after all." "Ma'am, that's a vintage muscle car worth more than most people make in a year. Nobody drives it but me." She sniffed like she'd caught a foul odor. "Well, we'll see if that vehicle even meets HOA standards. I'll be reviewing our guidelines tonight." And review she absolutely did. Over the next week, I received a parade of increasingly absurd violation notices. One claimed the car was too loud, despite the fact she'd never once heard me start it. Another insisted the paint color was excessively vibrant, posing a potential distraction to motorists. My personal favorite labeled the Mustang a commercial vehicle because, theoretically, it could be used for racing. I responded to every notice with saint-like patience, quoting the actual HOA rules that disproved her accusations. That only fueled her fury. Things escalated when Tyler returned the following Saturday, this time with 2 buddies in tow. I was mowing the lawn when they strutted up the driveway. "Hey, Mr. Morrison," Tyler called out with a fake friendly smile. "Me and the guys were wondering if you'd changed your mind about the car. Just a quick loop around the block." The answer's still no, Tyler. One of his friends, a stocky kid in a football jersey, stepped forward. "Oh, come on, dude. Don't be such a hard ass. What's the big deal?" "Enough," I said, letting my voice slip into the tone forged from 20 years in law enforcement. "You boys need to head home. This conversation is finished." They left, but not before Tyler shot me a look that promised trouble. Sure enough, an hour later Patricia returned, dragging her husband Richard with her. Richard looked like a man who'd rather be anywhere else, but still stood behind her as she launched into yet another performance. "You threatened my son and his friends," she shrieked. "Richard is an attorney, you know. We could sue you for emotional distress." Richard flinched at the declaration, but stayed silent. I'd looked him up, a tax lawyer who probably hadn't stepped into a courtroom in a decade. "Ma'am, I told them to leave my property. That is entirely within my rights. We'll see what the HOA board thinks about that," Patricia snapped before storming back down the driveway. Richard trailed behind, giving me an apologetic shrug as he went. Apparently, the next HOA meeting was quite the spectacle. I didn't attend, but my next-door neighbor Janet filled me in. Patricia had spent 40 minutes ranting about the dangerous element that had moved into the neighborhood, complete with a PowerPoint presentation on the perils of street racing culture. She even dropped the word hooligan. Janet had laughed, telling me, "She said your car was attracting the wrong crowd." I pointed out that the only people bothering you were her and Tyler. She didn't take that well. The harassment didn't stop. I'd find passive-aggressive notes under my wipers. My trash cans would mysteriously be tipped over every pickup day. Someone even filed a complaint with the city, claiming my lawn was half an inch too tall. Then came the day when everything finally blew up. It was a Saturday morning, and I was enjoying a quiet cup of coffee when I heard voices outside in my driveway. Looking through the window, I saw Tyler and his friends again. They were taking selfies with my car through the garage window this time, posing like it already belonged to them. I stepped outside. "Tyler, you need to leave now. It's just pictures, bro," he said, rolling his eyes. "For Instagram. My followers love sick cars. Get off my property." "I'm not asking again." His face reddened instantly. "You know what? Screw you. That car should be mine anyway. You're too old to appreciate it. Bet you can't even drive it right." "Tyler," I said, letting my voice slip into the tone my officers jokingly call my chief voice. "Leave now, or I'll call the police," he snorted. "My mom already did. She said you stole this thing. Said she checked the registration, and it's not even under your name." I let out a tired breath. Patricia must have discovered the paperwork still listed my father as the owner. I'd planned on updating it, just hadn't gotten around to it yet. "Yeah," Tyler went on, gaining confidence. "She said the cops are gonna take it, and maybe someone who actually deserves it can buy it at auction." And that's when we heard them sirens. 3 patrol cars came barreling down our previously calm street, lights flashing like it was a drug bust. Patricia strutted out of her house, phone clutched triumphantly. "Officers," she yelled as the first cruiser stopped. "He's right there. The thief is right there." I recognized the officers immediately, Martinez and Davidson from day shift, with Thompson and the rookie Patel behind them. The look on Martinez's face when he spotted me standing calmly in the driveway was priceless. "Chief Morrison?" he said, half confused, half alarmed. "Morning, Martinez," I replied smoothly. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" Patricia froze. Her jaw dropped. "Chief?" What do you mean, Chief? Davidson stepped forward, keeping his posture professional. This is Chief Morrison. He's our boss. He's the chief of police for the entire city. All the color drained from Patricia's face. Tyler stumbled back, suddenly far more focused on pretending to text. Richard arrived moments later, looking as though he desperately wanted the ground to swallow him whole. But the car, Patricia sputtered. The registration, it doesn't match. I checked myself. The car was registered to my father, I said calmly. He died 6 months ago. I inherited it and haven't filed the title transfer yet. Would you like to see the will and death certificate? I didn't. She was literally trembling. Martinez, I said, keeping my tone steady. Please take a full report. This woman called 911 with a knowingly false claim about a stolen vehicle. She's also been harassing me for 3 weeks because I wouldn't let her son drive my personal property. Yes, sir, Martinez answered, flipping open his notepad. Wait, Patricia cried. I didn't know. It was a mistake. You called 911 and claimed a crime occurred, I said. You stated you personally checked the registration. That's not a mistake, that's an intentional false report. Thompson had already activated his body camera and turned toward Tyler. Young man, were you involved in this? Trying to impress his friends, Tyler made the fatal mistake of running his mouth. Yeah, so what? He's been a jerk ever since he moved here. Thinks he's better than everyone. Tyler, stop talking, Richard finally said, but too late. My mom runs this neighborhood. Tyler yelled, voice cracking. She could buy and sell you. When my dad hears about this, you're gonna regret it. We'll sue the whole department. Patel shot me a wide-eyed look. I nodded for him to keep the camera rolling. Within the hour, the entire street had gathered, whispering and filming as the chaos unfolded. Patricia was officially cited for filing a false police report and abusing emergency services. Tyler received a stern warning for trespassing and harassment. Every second of the confrontation had been recorded on multiple body cameras. This is absurd, Patricia screamed as Martinez handed her the citation. I'm on the HOA board. I protect this neighborhood. Ma'am, I said quietly, you used the police as a weapon because your son wanted access to my car. You wasted city resources and pulled officers away from actual emergencies. That doesn't protect anyone. Richard finally found his voice. Patricia, we need to leave. Now, he turned to me with genuine remorse in his eyes. Chief Morrison, I'm very sorry. This will never happen again. As they retreated down the driveway, I heard Patricia hissing at him something about calling their lawyer, suing for humiliation, promising that I'd regret this. Tyler trudged behind them, all his swagger gone, looking like a balloon someone had popped. Janet appeared beside me just as the patrol cars rolled away. Well, she said cheerfully, that was some Saturday entertainment. I just wanted a quiet morning, I muttered. Oh, honey, you're not done yet, she said, grinning. The HOA board is meeting tomorrow. Emergency session. Patricia won't hold that title for long. She wasn't wrong. Within days, the body cam footage was requested through public records. Someone still no clue who uploaded clips online. And they exploded. HOA president calls cops on police chief. Racked up millions of views. And Tyler's little rant about his parents buying and selling people became an instant meme. The emergency HOA meeting. Patricia tried desperately to maintain control, but the tide had turned. Neighbors she'd bullied for years finally spoke out. One after another, they shared stories of her petty fines, intimidation tactics, and flat-out abuse of authority. The vote to remove her wasn't just overwhelming, it was unanimous. Patricia was stripped of her HOA presidency on the spot. As she rose to leave, she spun around, eyes glossy with rage and humiliation. You'll all regret this, she said, voice trembling. I built this neighborhood. No, Janet replied, standing tall. You turned this neighborhood into a little dictatorship. Now, we can make it a community again. Patricia fled the room in tears. Richard stayed, apologized to everyone, and quietly announced they'd be putting their house on the market. The false police report charge cost her $1,000 and 50 hours of community service. But the real reckoning came in court. Judge Riss, whom I'd known for 15 years, looked notably unimpressed when Patricia tried to claim she was just being cautious. "Mrs. Dalton," he said, peering over his glasses, "you admitted to checking the registration, finding a discrepancy, and calling 911 without attempting any verification. You then told officers the vehicle was stolen. That is not caution. That is malicious intent." Her attorney pushed for dismissal, but the body cam evidence was devastating. When the judge read the penalties, Patricia let out a loud gasp. $8,000 in fines for a single call, Judge Hendricks continued, plus all court costs. "Consider yourself lucky I'm not issuing jail time. Wasting law enforcement resources is extremely serious." Patricia left the courtroom in stunned silence, her face twisted with humiliation. The woman who once treated Riverside Heights like her private empire had finally been undone. Not by enemies, not by conspiracies, but by her own entitlement and her son's greed.